Dear Cancer, today we delve into a matter that has shaken your very emotional core, a betrayal involving your own family, perhaps a sibling and another relative. This isn't just an ordinary story. It's a revelation about the silent burdens you've carried. You didn't stumble upon this by chance. Your intuitive and sensitive spirit guided you here because there's a truth waiting to be acknowledged, one that has been buried under a veneer of false peace for far too long. Perhaps their actions weren't a direct attack, but you felt the deep sting of loss when your love was taken for granted and your care was treated as an obligation. And maybe, just maybe, another family member stood by their side, their silence a deafening form of complicity. This space is not about casting blame. It's about validating your feelings, recognizing that what you've experienced is real and deserving of healing. The soul can only find peace again when we name the truth. And today, we will do just that. For a Cancer, betrayal often isn't a loud, dramatic fight. Instead, it's the slow erosion of trust, a hidden secret, a careless word that wounds, or your tireless nurturing being treated as a duty. Imagine spending a lifetime building a sanctuary of love, only to find that the person you trusted most has been quietly letting the cold winds in. In that moment, your heart doesn't shatter. It contracts. It freezes over, not because of a material loss, but because the very safe haven you worked so hard to create was violated from within. There are wounds that come not from harsh words, but from the silence of those who should have protected you. I've witnessed this time and again, where compassionate souls like yours are the heart of the family, only to find themselves standing alone when their own feelings are disregarded. You, dear Cancer, are the nurturer, the emotional anchor. You don't need anyone to tell you this. You feel it in your every heartbeat. You can sense when something is off a hollow promise, a strained expression of care. These subtle shifts speak volumes to you, revealing a truth that others might overlook. You are not just a creature of emotion. Your emotional intelligence is as deep and reliable as still waters. Your intuition, often labeled as overly sensitive or moody, has always been your most reliable compass, pointing you toward what is real and what is false. I recall a poignant story from an older woman who spent her life caring for her family. Her younger sister, whom she adored, colluded with a cousin to spread unkind rumors, damaging her reputation. That betrayal didn't just break her heart, it cost her faith in the very family bonds she cherished. The Buddha once said, "There is no wound deeper than the rejection from someone you loved unconditionally." We can withstand life's storms, but it's the betrayal from those we consider our own that truly shakes our soul. Cancer, you've likely chosen silence, not because you've forgiven, but because you were too exhausted for conflict. You continue to care, to nurture, to be the reliable one. Yet, inside, there's a trembling child wondering, why wasn't my love respected? That question was buried deep, but your soul has never stopped seeking an answer. Today, I'm here not to criticize your family, but to give voice to that devoted, wounded part of you that has long been unheard. Remember this: you are not weak, you are not overly emotional, and you are not too demanding. You are simply a person who lives from the heart, And that loving nature is not a curse. It's a testament to a soul that understands the true value of connection. Perhaps you've grown accustomed to giving without expecting anything in return, convincing yourself they didn't mean to hurt you, that you were just being too sensitive. But it's time to recognize that your feelings of being taken for granted are valid. Has anyone ever asked you, "Are you tired?" Has anyone ever sat with you, not to ask for a favor, but just to say, "Thank you for everything you do"? If not, let me be the first to offer you that recognition. Take a deep breath, not to erase the past, but to make space for the truth to breathe. Because this pain didn't come from just one person. Another family member stood behind them, silently assisting in this betrayal. Betrayal doesn't always come from the one who acts. Sometimes, it arises from those who choose to remain silent. This silence can feel like a betrayal in itself, leaving you feeling unprotected and isolated. Imagine the pain of realizing that someone you considered an ally, someone who knew how much you sacrificed, chose to stand by while you were being undermined. They didn't defend you, not because they were unaware, but because they made a choice, and that choice wasn't you. Have you ever felt this way? No one stabbed you in the back, but someone held you down, preventing you from defending your own feelings. In my spiritual healing sessions, this truth often emerges. I don't blame the one who hurt me. I can't forgive the one who watched it happen in silence. I once spoke with an elderly woman whose family members sat quietly while others gossiped about her, never once stepping in to defend her integrity. That silence can be more painful than any accusation. Cancer. You've been conditioned to believe that keeping the peace is the ultimate virtue. You've let things slide simply because you wanted to avoid confrontation. But did you know that silence can also be a weapon? It's a choice, often aligning with the one causing harm. As a nurturing water sign, you carry the sacred mission of the caregiver, the one who creates emotional safety for others. Yet, this role can lead to the expectation that you must endure, yield, and remain silent to maintain family harmony. You dislike chaos. You prefer peace, even at the cost of your own inner turmoil, because you often choose this path. Those who stay silent find it easy to side with the other party. They assume you'll absorb the blow, just as you always have. They take your patience for granted, using it as a rug to sweep their own cowardice under. But your soul can no longer bear this weight. God does not work in noise. He sees everything, every tear, every silent act of complicity, every moment you felt your sanctuary tremble. No one can deceive him. He doesn't need you to seek revenge. He wants you to recognize that this was never a fair partnership. Let it go, fully and without resentment. How many times have you left a family gathering feeling like an emotional servant, present but only valued for the care you give, speaking of feelings but being unheard, quietly exhausted with no one to ask why your soul has known this truth for a long time? You just didn't dare to name it. You feared losing what little connection you had left, worried they'd label you too sensitive or dramatic. But today, I urge you to be brave. Name the truth. Acknowledge that someone enabled this betrayal, and you no longer have to accept it. If no one has ever told you this, let me be the one. It was wrong for them to stand still. It was wrong for them to choose silence, and you don't have to carry that weight anymore. You've carried the feeling of being devalued for far too long into every family dinner, every gift you gave, and every time you helped despite your reservations. Lay that burden down here, in this moment, in this sacred space where truth is spoken, not to attack, but to set your soul free. Why did they choose you to bear this particular wound? There's a truth buried beneath layers of memory that you're about to uncover, and it will change everything. I know you've asked yourself countless times, what did I do wrong? You've examined every action, every emotion you showed, fearing your own sensitivity caused this distance. You've tried to be more understanding, less demanding. Yet, the more you gave, the more they took, leading you to ask, why today? I want to say this clearly. They don't hate you. They just couldn't stand the emotional depth you embody. You did nothing wrong. You were just different. You are the one who dared to live by love, who didn't chase fleeting connections. You created a safe space while others lived in emotional chaos. And because of this, they saw you as a mirror, reflecting their own shallowness and instability. When people lack the courage to face their reflection, they often turn their disdain toward the mirror itself. I remember a woman who shared her experience. I was always the different child. I didn't join in the frivolous drama or chase superficial fun. I nurtured deep relationships and talked about building a lasting family bond. And they called me weak and old-fashioned. She knew she was simply different, and that difference made her a target. Cancer, you are the sign of emotional value, where loving energy settles and becomes real. You are where seeds of care are planted with the hope that you will nurture them into a flourishing garden. You were born into a family that may not have understood the value of patience, that mocked your sensitivity, that labeled you as fragile. But you were never meant to be shallow. Your soul came here to build, to create lasting emotional bonds, and that terrifies those who wrestle with their own emptiness. Your presence shines a light on their lack of emotional foundation. They didn't intend to hurt you. They simply couldn't handle the depth within you. You've spent years doubting yourself because you weren't allowed to live in harmony with your own soul. You spoke little, but loved much, remaining patient while carrying disappointment for far too long. You walked away in silence, trying to avoid conflict, even as your trust was crumbling. Then they labeled you as moody, dramatic, or clingy. But those labels were not the truth. They were simply projections of their discomfort. Today, I'm not here to analyze you. I'm here to protect you, to safeguard that part of your soul that values sincerity, the part you've hidden, fearing no one would understand. Your devotion, your compassion, and your responsible spirit do not need to apologize for making others uncomfortable. You were born to live truthfully with your emotions, and no one has the right to make you feel you need permission to be yourself. You've endured long enough, trying to fit into a mold that wasn't yours. Today, you don't have to force anything anymore. You don't need to keep overgiving. You were chosen to break the cycle of emotional superficiality. You are not the strange one in your family. You are the one who kept the heart warm in a room full of flickering candles. After all the wounds, what did you choose? You didn't retaliate. You didn't hold on to resentment. You chose to quietly rebuild your own world, even when no one turned back to apologize. That was when a new chapter began. There's a truth your soul has known for a long time, but your heart didn't want to accept it. Some people will never apologize. It's not because they don't know they hurt you. It's because they lack the courage to face their own failings. You waited, carrying in silence, hoping they would eventually recognize your worth and admit their faults. Yet, the years passed, and you, the one still holding on to that hope, began to run out of patience. I once waited for an apology for 15 years, only to realize that some people will never grow enough to admit they were wrong because they've never truly valued themselves. How could they ever know how to value someone else? Dear Cancer, you carry a sacred gift, the ability to rebuild from emotional ruins. But because of this strength, you often endure the deepest betrayals of trust. You wait for something that others aren't capable of giving. You hope they will understand on their own. But waiting in silence can be one of the loneliest forms of pain. The Bible teaches us about forgiveness, urging us to forgive, not out of weakness, but as a profound act of reclaiming our own peace. I once met a woman in her 70s whose children had taken her lifelong sacrifices for granted without ever offering an explanation. For years, she lived in silence, never seeking reconciliation. When I asked her if she resented them, she simply smiled, a calm and gentle smile. When the ocean becomes barren, does the river ever blame the ocean? It simply finds a new sea to flow into. Dear Cancer, forgiveness doesn't mean you condone their actions. It doesn't mean everything is fine. Forgiveness means you no longer wish to carry that heavy burden. It's about untying the invisible string that connects you to those who have devalued you. It's about asking yourself, do I deserve peace of mind? Letting go isn't about them deserving forgiveness. It's about you deserving peace. You've walked far enough with that wound, through sleepless nights and frustrating conversations. In moments when you wanted to speak up, but chose stability instead. You are allowed to sit down, not waiting for someone to return, but so you can rise and move forward without dragging old sorrows behind you. You don't need anyone to validate your worth. You need space to breathe, a quiet corner where your soul can feel secure again. Have you ever wondered, if I let go, will I lose them forever? Here's the truth. No one can truly leave you if they were never really there for you. You are not losing them. You are releasing an illusion to embrace what is real. You deserve a love that honors your contributions. You don't need them to change. You just need to choose yourself again. From this moment on, don't let your life hinge on an apology that never came. Don't wait by a door that never opened. And don't cling to a bond that only you were trying to maintain. Dear Cancer, I invite you to sit quietly for a moment and ask yourself, did I really lose them? Or did I release something that no longer held me with respect? You need to understand that you are not as alone as you think. Your true family is searching for you. Some may call themselves family by blood, but they never ask. Are you tired? Do you need help? Do you need to be appreciated? Then there are those you've never met. Yet when they look into your eyes, they recognize your journey. They sit beside you, not to take, but to share in the quiet, steady rhythm of life. Dear Cancer, you are a being of depth and substance. You don't crave empty praise or chaotic crowds. You seek a connection reliable enough that you can finally be yourself without having to be on guard. Astrology calls you the nurturer, the one who brings spirit into matter, the one who inherits the lessons of patience and compassion. Because of this, the universe always sends the right souls your way at the right time. You've stepped out of the old circle, the one where you were the only one tending to a garden that had long gone fallow. Let me share a story. A 65-year-old man who lives alone after leaving a conflict-ridden family. He tends his garden and enjoys the quiet on his porch. Every week, his young neighbor, whom he met only a year ago, brings him a warm meal. Just because, not family, not a lifelong friend, but that simple, consistent act of kindness held more value than anything he ever received from his blood relatives. Family is not a place where you must stay silent. It's not where you clean up the mess or shrink yourself for others' comfort. Family is where you can exhale, and someone cherishes that breath with their whole heart. You have never truly been alone. Dear Cancer, you just haven't met someone who could call your soul by its true name. Your true name is not moody, dramatic, or clingy. Your true name is the nurturer, the guardian of safety, the one who believes in loyal love until the very end. There is a door opening not for someone else to walk in, but for you to walk out of the cramped room you once locked yourself in. You thought, if I leave, who will hold this place together? You don't have to hold it anymore. What awaits you is a new foundation, a new home, a community where you don't have to ask for permission to be valued. Are you ready to receive this new family, one that loves your soul unconditionally? Dear Cancer, you've walked through experiences no one truly knows, but your heart remembers. If one day they return with genuine respect, you will know. Not because of the past, but because peace has finally arrived in the present. May you always find enough stillness to choose what is best for yourself.